Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pat's Pulpit pregame preview. I am Rich Hill. Here with me, as always, is my good friend Alex Shane. We're here to talk about Week 15 of the NFL season. But before we jump right into it, Alec, big question for you. How are you doing?
I don't know how I'm doing, man, to be honest with you. I feel like I am either I was asleep at the wheel or I was caught off guard or I just wasn't paying the kind of attention I need to pay this year. But week 15 already started. There were some games yesterday, and I had no clue what was happening. No idea.
Yeah, what is the deal with Saturday night football? I'm not sure when it starts. I feel like it changes every year. Before like the Thursday night football thing was going on, I felt like there was always going to be a Saturday night thing, but I don't know why does it start right now? How did they choose these games, and how long have we or like were we supposed to know about this?
Yeah, I guess we were. I was out last night. I walked into my local bar, and the game, the Chiefs and Chargers was on the TV. And I think, oh, they're replaying some highlights from the first. Like, nope, that was the actual game going on. Maybe they advertised it. Again, I don't really listen to ESPN or NFL.com anymore. I don't really pay attention to the mainstream sites because they're all garbage. So maybe there was something going on there. But NFL's underway this week, Rich. We're kind of behind the ball.
Yeah, seriously. And so last night, the Chiefs, they beat the Chargers 30-13 in what was a surprise for me. I know Kansas City was playing at home, and so they should have been the favorite, but I thought that the Chargers were clearly a better team. The Chiefs have really been stumbling, but they somehow pulled this off. They have the driver's seat in the AFC West. Did you just, when you were watching the highlights or you catch anything else, Alex Smith had a pretty good game out there, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kareem Hunt started going again. Should we be worried about the Chiefs at all at this point, or are they more representative of the struggles that they had at the midpoint of the year?
Yeah, I mean, based on what little I saw and what I've seen the past couple weeks from Kansas City, I just feel like the AFC, other than the Patriots and Steelers, we're going to talk about in a little bit, is just such a mess. And that disparity between the Pats and Steelers and the rest of the conference is just so obvious that I can't really take too much away from pretty much any game I watch in the NFL this year. That goes to the NFC to a degree, but definitely the AFC. I feel like the Chiefs are a very inconsistent team. They can look great 1 minute, even drive to drive. The key I saw yesterday, though, was when I was watching is just Hunt. If they can get him going, he's an unstoppable force. And the combination of Hunt and Tyreek Hill can be very dangerous. So I feel like if they can really start to lean on the running game, maybe they can surprise a little bit. But until I see the Chiefs put together consistent back-to-back weeks of quality play, I'm not going to do too much worrying about them.
Yeah, and when you add in Travis Kelce, they have a pretty dynamic starting trio in that offense. A lot of teams have 1, 2 really good players. They have 3 very solid players with the Chiefs. But as you said, it comes down to how they are overall down the final stretch. Their defense has been pretty bad all year. They finally added Darrelle Revis to be starting cornerback opposite of Marcus Peters. So maybe that'll give them a nice little jolt moving forward. But until they can get through Wild Card weekend, I don't know if too many teams are going to be overly concerned with the Kansas City Chiefs. But over the Thursday and Saturday night games, those were the only ones that really mattered. You had the Broncos-Colts game, but who cares about that one, which is something you couldn't say 2 years ago. So that's pretty crazy. So looking forward to today's slate of games, the 1 p.m. spot. Have any games really caught your attention? Because I see that there's the Dolphins-Bills divisional game, which is pretty important. If the Bills lose, then the Patriots clinch the AFC East without taking a single snap, which would be nice to see. But Buffalo is at home. Do you think that there's any chance that the Bills can lose this one?
I think if the Dolphins that showed up on Monday night against the Patriots show up against the Bills, then yes, absolutely. If Jay Cutler can somehow quickly and efficiently roll out on his bootlegs and duck sacks and hit guys on a dime, then yeah, they can win. Can they do that twice in a row? I don't know. Teams tend to get up for the Patriots, and it was in Miami, obviously, in Buffalo in December, especially mid-December where it's very cold out. It's a tall order for anybody, particularly Jay Cutler. I feel like the Bills are just one of those teams, they just refuse to go away. They won, an absolute mess of a game last week in the snow against the Colts. I feel like the Buffalo Bills will basically take the Patriots down to the wire and never be in a situation where the Bills are gonna go away. So it's gonna be Patriots Bills for the AFC East, I think, next week.
Okay, interesting. That should be a lot of fun to see. Patriots finish the season at home with a back-and-back against the Bills and the Jets. That will be interesting. But looking at the other 1 p.m. games, you have the return of Aaron Rodgers on the road against the Carolina Panthers, which would be pretty interesting. This will have a lot of playoff implications for who's going to be in the wild card spots, or if the Panthers can surprise and steal the NFC South crown. That would be interesting. The 0-13 Cleveland Browns are hosting the Baltimore Ravens, which would just tickle all the fancies of New England Patriots fans if they can notch their first win of the season by knocking out the Ravens. That would just be a special treat. But the big game that I'm interested in from this early slate, Jacksonville Jaguars are hosting the Houston Texans. The Texans are just beat up everywhere. They don't have J.J. Watt, no Whitney Merciless. I believe that Tom Savage is dealing with his concussion injury. They're just a total mess. The Jaguars are rolling. Blake Bortles has looked like a good quarterback. Finally, for the month of December, he has the best passer rating in the NFL. If Blake Bortles is finally a good quarterback and the Jaguars have the best defense in the NFL, I think that there's a very strong case to be made that they are the one of the top teams in the NFL, not just the AFC. But Alec, do you think that there's any chance that the Texans can pull off the upset?
I mean, as of this talk we're having right now, literally, I have no idea who the quarterback is, the Texans. I don't even know the name of the guy. I don't know where he came from. I don't know who it is. I don't. My football knowledge does not fall that far down the Texans depth chart. And if you're going up one of the best defenses in the NFL and I can't name your starting quarterback, it doesn't really bode well for you. They're also on the road at Jacksonville. The Jaguars are one of those teams that nobody's really talking about because maybe there's just so many remnants of past bad Jaguars teams and of years past. But they're a really, really good defense. They have a good running game. I think I called it when Eli Manning was benched and there was talk about Eli Manning to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Blake Bortles caught wind of that, and he's been lights out ever since. And, yeah, I mean, it's funny. We'll talk about the Steelers-Patriots games, but don't sleep on the Jacksonville Jaguars of possibly finishing 12-4 and maybe knocking one of these two teams, Patriots or Steelers, out of that bye week. It's crazy.
Yeah, and what's important to note is that the Jaguars have the head-to-head tiebreaker with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if the New England Patriots beat the Steelers today and, all three teams finish 12-4, the Steelers are going to be the ones playing in the 3 seed because they lose out on that head-to-head tiebreaker against both the Patriots and the Jaguars. So New England and Jacksonville would get the bye weeks. And if they're all 12-4, that means that the Patriots would have lost one of their final 2, and the Jaguars would be the number 1 seed because they would win the conference record tiebreaker. So Jacksonville is still in play to have home field advantage, which should just be the biggest surprise of 2017 in a year full of stuff that just doesn't make sense. I think that the Jaguars being the number 1 seed would definitely take the cake. But with that in mind, let's move on towards the Patriots and the Steelers. They're playing today at 4:25. The game will be on CBS. We get Tony Romo, which is fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. But, Alec, the Patriots are really banged up right now. Kyle Van Noy is not expected to play. Alan Branch is not going to play. Brandon King is not playing. And Chris Hogan is not expected to play. Without Chris Hogan playing, that means that Kenny Britt is going to get some time with that offense. With all of the injuries you see on the Patriots side, are you concerned at all about whether or not the Patriots can win on the road against the Steelers?
I am actually, yeah, for 2 reasons. One, I don't know if we're officially there yet, but we are dangerously close to critical mass in terms of injuries for this team. It really reminds me of that 2013 season where everybody was hurt, and by the end of the year, they kind of just ran out of gas. I feel like the tank is slowly reaching empty. They really can't sustain too many more injuries. Marcus Cannon's on IR now, so it's Adrian Waddle all the way at right tackle. Tom Brady's already banged up, dealing with that Achilles injury. He's missing practices, which is never a good thing down the stretch. Chris Hogan had a field day against the Steelers in the AFC Championship game last year. He's going to be out. As you saw last week, the Patriots had nobody to throw to. They couldn't get separation. They couldn't protect Brady in the line. The Steelers have a very good defense. I think Joe Hayden's expected to play. He's a very good cornerback. Gronk is back, which is good, but these injuries are really starting to mount up, and they've basically lost a key guy at every single position, basically, on both sides of the ball, and you have to wonder how much longer they can keep pulling a rabbit out of a hat. And 2, the Steelers, for some reason, have the football gods on their side this season. They just keep winning these miracle games by 1 point, by field goals. Games they should have won, should not have won is irrelevant. They just kind of find a way to win games late. And so if the Patriots find themselves in a position where they're like up 2, where the Roethlisberger has the ball with no Alan Branch to stuff the run, no Kyle Van Noy to quarterback the middle of the defense, and then Antonio Brown's going to get his today. It's a very good matchup for the Steelers and a very banged-up Patriots team, and that could be trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's start with looking at the Patriots side of the ball. With no Chris Hogan, that means that Brandon Cooks is going to have to step up a lot. You have Rob Gronkowski playing at tight end. He's back after he was suspended for, just an illegal hit against the Buffalo Bills, but he should be a very important factor for the Patriots against the Steelers because in his 5 career games against Pittsburgh, Rob Gronkowski has averaged, I believe, 6 catches for 96 yards and nearly 2 touchdowns per game. He has 8 touchdowns in those 5 games. And if he can put forward that type of production yet again, I think that the Patriots would be in pretty good position to win, because that means that their offense is definitely clicking. You got Dion Lewis, who played his first career game with the Patriots in 2015 in the season opener against the Steelers, had like 130 yards from scrimmage as well. So you have a lot of very explosive players in that Patriots offense. Tom Brady has had a lot of success against this Steelers defense. Do you have any reason to think that the Patriots offense might catch a snag this week?
Well, I guess the real question is the Steelers going to are the Steelers going to march out the same defense they've marched out every single time? Or are they going to switch it up and totally flip the script on the Patriots? So the Patriots expecting same old Steelers, and they're going to get some weird kind of man pressure over zone look. I don't know. It's always been zone. Brady's always carved it up, and maybe this is the year the Steelers try to mash it up. You wrote an article on Pulpit.com about how Brady in his press conference basically said, I know what I'm getting with the Steelers. They kind of march out the same defense every single week. And if that's the case, great. I have no problem with it, but I feel like this is the week they've been sitting on this like new defense for just this 1 week. They're going to bust it out and confuse the Patriots. And if they do that, could be a long day.
Yeah, well, I just got the sense when Brady was in that press conference saying, it's been the same defense time and time again. The one time that the Steelers did change it up was in that 2011 season, I believe, where they started playing more man coverage and the Steelers won. That was one of the only times that the Steelers have beaten the Patriots since 2004. And it was because they threw in that wrinkle. And the Steelers have been talking time and time again about how they wanted to play more man coverage. We haven't really seen that this year. And head coach Mike Tomlin is saying, we have been preparing for this game. We have had this one because we know that this is important for home field advantage, and that determines who's going to go play in the Super Bowl most years. So this could be the time Tom Brady is like, teams just don't change up their defense in week 15 of the season. I just got that feeling of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where they're just like, they never change their defense. And then goes to the credit scene and it's like the gang faces a new defense. And I'm just not feeling too confident that the Patriots are going to find themselves against the same old Steelers defense this week.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a legitimate concern, I think. This obviously is the game everyone's had circled for some time. I almost feel like we should have just fast forwarded to week 15 right away, because we're all exactly more or less where we thought we'd be at this point. Patriots, Steelers, the winner of this game, we've been calling this forever. It's basically Cavs, Golden State of the NBA. It's kind of how it's supposed to go. And the Patriots, I don't know if they really have the personnel to change up on the fly the way the Steelers have defensively, at least offensively. The running backs are expected to have a big day, I'm imagining. My real concern is with no Chris Hogan, no Edelman, obviously, and I really didn't like what I saw from Brandon Cooks last week in terms of fighting for separation, making adjustments, scrappy, coming back at the line. He seems the kind of guy, like, he's a very good receiver, but he kind of makes his catches and then he gets to the bounds or he drops. He's not one to really fight for the extra yardage. And the Steelers defense is a hit you hard, bang them up defense. Do you think Brandon Cooks can kind of find that mean gene to get himself a little more aggressive, or do you think that's kind of who he is?
I think that there was a reason why the New Orleans Saints decided to part ways with Brandon Cooks and keep Michael Thomas. First off, Michael Thomas is the bigger receiver, but they just thought that Michael Thomas had the skills to be a bona fide number one. And Brandon Cooks, he's a great wide receiver. He's very, very talented. He's worth, one of those $10+ million contracts. But is he up there with the Julio Jones and the Antonio Browns, where you could throw it to them and you can trust that, 80% of the time they're going to come down with it? We haven't seen that. We've seen a fair case of the drops. We've seen he doesn't really go for those contested footballs. I don't know if he would be able to do that against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I also feel pretty comfortable thinking that he will get a few opportunities just to be wide open because of how the zones work. Maybe he'll break free. He'll get single coverage at some point. He'll be wide open 60 yards down the field, and it's more a matter of can Tom Brady get enough sauce on the ball to get it to him. And I think that is possible. I don't know if we'll see him win a contested catch. I still do believe that he's going to have a productive day. But a player that I'm interested in and who is going to be my X factor is going to be Philip Dorsett. We haven't seen much of him, but I have looked at the tape, and he does a good job getting open, but he just hasn't been given the opportunities. Tom Brady hasn't looked his way, despite the fact that he has been getting open, mostly because he's finding Brandon Cooks, he's finding Rob Gronkowski, he's looking towards the running backs. There really isn't a need to rely on your number 4, number 5 guy in that offense, but with Chris Hogan not playing, Kenny Britt, a fairly new addition to the team. I think that there will be opportunities for Dorsett to make a few plays down the field. And I'm not expecting him to go out there 150 yards and 3 scores sort of game. But if he can get 2-3 passes during this game and one of them that flips the field, that is the type of production that the Patriots need from Dorsett and on offense in order to stay ahead of Pittsburgh and win the game.
So you think Kenny Britt will be a relative non-factor today?
I don't know if he'll be a non-factor, but I believe that he has a role in mind. They want him in there for his size. That's something that Bill Belichick kept saying, is that he's the biggest guy that we got. He's 6'3", 225 pounds. He's been with the team for 3-4 days, so it's not like he has a lengthy playbook at his disposal. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots were in practice saying, learn these 3 or 4 different routes. You know, we'll practice the fade with you in the end zone. Maybe we'll do one of those comebacks or just like a flag route, anything. We'll design 3 or 4 plays that you can get. Maybe we'll have 3 or 4 opportunities to target you in the red zone. That's all we need from you this week until Chris Hogan gets back. So I don't think that Kenny Britt will be big between the 20s, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had a few opportunities by the goal line.
It'd be great to get on the red zone thread in there for sure. Without Rob Gronkowski, the Patriots were completely lost in the red zone. I'll be very curious to see how the Steelers handle him because, as you mentioned, he always goes off against the Steelers. They have to be factoring that in. And will they overcompensate for Gronk? And if so, how will that open up the play action, which is why Dion Lewis is actually my X factor today. I think of all the backs on the roster, Burkhead, Lewis, White, etc., I think he's the one most poised to do well. He's shiftier. Unfortunately, Ryan Shazier being out is a big blow to the Steelers. All signs point to him being okay, which is great, but their linebacking core took a hit with him, and as coverage linebackers like the Patriots is kind of where they struggle, and Dion Lewis definitely represents that dual threat of a runner and a pass catcher. So hopefully the Patriots will be able to create some mismatches with Dion Lewis, which will then free up the routes for Cooks and Gronkowski and whatnot. It's amazing how we saw that not work last week. Hopefully it comes back in spades this week. However, Rich, do you feel like the Patriots will be able to run the ball successfully in general against the Steelers, or will that front line cause them problems, especially with the offensive line being what it is?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very fair concern. The Patriots ran for over 190 yards against the Dolphins and the Bills in back-to-back weeks, but when they came back to play Miami, they just abandoned it. 10 carries, 25 yards. They just didn't have any sort of potential on the ground, and it's not because the game got away from them. You know, it's still a one-score game for the first 35 minutes of it, and they only ran the ball 8 times. So they have an opportunity to run the ball successfully because I think that the Steelers' defensive front is not as potent as the Miami Dolphins one, because you got Ndamukong Suh and you got Cameron Wake. Those are 2 of the top 5 players at their positions in the AFC and possibly even the league. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, TJ Watt's a rookie. He's been fine, but he's not someone that you have to scheme around just yet. Cameron Hayward, Stephon Tuitt are 2 of the better defensive linemen in the league, but I would take Suh over either of those players any day of the week. And that leaves an opportunity for the Patriots to possibly do some delays up the middle. Or if the Steelers go heavy and they use 3 defensive linemen, that means that a lighter player who could potentially add value in coverage is not going to be on the field. And that should open up some possible, screens for Dion Lewis or Mike Gillislee or James White, Rex Burkhead, any of those running backs. Honestly, get them on the screen, get them in the flat, and use those short passes as an extension of the run game. So depends on how the offensive line blocks. They have it in them to be successful against Pittsburgh. They were not good at all against Miami. And, it's not just the fact that they don't have Marcus Cannon. Joe Thuney had a terrible game. David Andrews was not good. So everyone else really needs to step up. They have the ability, but they haven't shown the consistency yet this year that we need to see in order for us to make a strong declaration that, the Patriots can run the ball against the Steelers defense.
Now, Rich, you mentioned how the receiving backs and the mismatches and the quick passes as the extension of the run game. That's one thing the Steelers do really well offensively. Le'Veon Bell's the best back in the game, in my opinion. He's a massive weapon for that team, along with Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger. Those are their 3 kind of core guys. The Patriots, what they usually try to do at least is take away your best weapon, make you beat them with other guys. So if you are Matt Patricia and your defensive coordinator, are you trying to target Bell? Are you trying to take Antonio Brown out? Who are you trying to eliminate in this game?
Yeah, you can't. You honestly just can't figure it out that way, because if you try to go a little bit lighter to cover Bell as a receiver out of the backfield, they're just going to run it with him because the Steelers have one of the 5 best offensive lines in the league, and Bell is the best running back in the league. So they'll be able to produce on the ground if you try to challenge them to do that. Or if you challenge them to throw the ball, good luck covering him with a linebacker, especially if you're the Patriots without Dante Hightower and without Kyle Van Noy. That means that Landon Roberts is going to have to cover him. That was a disaster last week against Kenyon Drake, and Le'Veon Bell is a whole level above Drake and then some. And you're not going to use David Harris to do it. You have to ask Marquise Flowers. He's your only opportunity to do that at linebacker, and you can't do it single coverage. You have to use brackets somehow. The Steelers have said that's how the Patriots have defended Bell in recent years, is that they use a linebacker and a safety. So I would not be surprised if Patrick Chung and Marquise Flowers were tasked with just making sure that Bell doesn't do anything out of the backfield. Even include that, hopefully Trey Flowers or Dietrich Wise are supposed to hit Le'Veon Bell every single time that he leaks out, possibly, hold him, grab him, make sure that he doesn't get a clean release. Just disrupt the timing and hope that something else disrupts Ben Roethlisberger and makes him get rid of the football. And you can't dedicate more than that to Bell. You have to trust a linebacker to do at least part of the job, because you can't just use a defensive back. They'll run the ball. Or, if you try to keep your same base defense, that means that Antonio Brown is going to get single coverage, or, he'll get double coverage, and that leaves Martavis Bryant and Juju Smith-Schuster with single coverage. This just isn't a great offense to dedicate too many resources. So you need to do some confusion tactics and make the Steelers have to hold on to the ball and think about, okay, this person isn't getting a clean release, but maybe they actually do. And you just need that confusion element to slow Ben Roethlisberger down and hope that the pressure can get to him.
Which is why you need my defensive X factor, Trey Flowers, to play today. I think he's going to play. He's questionable with a rib injury, but he needs to get to the quarterback. Pass rush has been basically non-existent the past couple of weeks. If Ben Roethlisberger has all day to throw back there, it's going to be a very long afternoon for the Patriots, because the receiver's just way too talented to cover for more than a couple of seconds. To that end, Rich, Malcolm Butler has done a pretty good job on Antonio Brown over the years. It's been a really fun matchup objectively to watch. Brown's always going to get his, but Butler's covered him pretty well. Are you going to let Butler stay on Brown today, or are you going to bring Stephon Gilmore over there and try to shut him down completely? What's your strategy?
See, that's the tough one. Because as fun as it is to watch Malcolm Butler go against Antonio Brown, if you actually look at the box scores, it's going to surprise you. I believe that Antonio Brown in his 3 games against Malcolm Butler has averaged like 115 yards, which is far from shutting him down. It's like he's still producing. It just seems like, yeah, Malcolm Butler is doing as best as we can, but he's still racking up yards. But I still think you need to go with Butler, because there's no way I'm going to have Malcolm Butler go out there and cover 6'4" Martavis Bryant, or 6'1.5" Juju Smith-Schuster. That's just not how it's going to work. So if I am Matt Patricia, I'm going to say, Malcolm Butler, you're in trail coverage with Antonio Brown. We're going to have Daron Harmon sitting over the top, just because that's what you need to do. And you can't have single coverage against Antonio Brown, or else he's going to win every single time. And then that means that Stephon Gilmore is going to have to win against Martavis Bryant on an island. And I would not be shocked if the Pittsburgh Steelers started to copy the Miami Dolphins and use a lot of those horizontal routes, because you just shake them, get a step on them, and that's all you need, and pick up a lot of yards after the catch. So it'll be interesting to watch how the Pittsburgh Steelers offense tries to attack the New England secondary, because hat on a hat, the secondary could be fine, but it's more about it just takes one break, just takes 2 breaks, and then the game is just wide open. So the defense has to be playing at the highest possible level. The Patriots have the personnel. I just don't know if they can do it. But as you said, I think that Malcolm Butler is going to be my X factor, because if he can hold Antonio Brown, if he's tasked with covering him, if he can hold Brown to fewer than 70 yards, then the Patriots should be in great position to win. Because you look at this Steelers offense and say that Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell combined for nearly 65% of the Pittsburgh offense. And so if either one of those players can be limited in any capacity, then the Steelers offense gets a huge hit. And then the Patriots will have a great opportunity to run away, because you have to hope that the Patriots offense can do their job against the Steelers defense like they always have been able to do.
Well, I guess that leads to the question, can the Patriots do that, Rich? The Patriots are playing the Steelers in a couple hours. You and I both picked the Dolphins to lose last week, and we were wrong. I had it 29-9. You had it 32-14. I don't even know which one's closer. We kind of put that game behind us. I'm a nice guy. It's the holiday season. I'll let you go first. Who you got today, Rich?
Thanks, man. Thanks for letting me do this one. I think that the Patriots are going to lose this one. I don't think they have it in them. They came out extraordinarily flat against the Miami Dolphins. This is their sixth game in a span of fifth game in 6 weeks that is going to be on the road. I can see them being exhausted. They don't have Kyle Van Noy. They don't have Alan Branch. They don't have Chris Hogan. There's just too many injuries for them to keep up with a team like the Steelers that are, if they get Joe Hayden back, they're pretty relatively healthy for all things considered. So the Steelers are at home. The Patriots are still the favorite for some reason. I think that's one of those weird Vegas things. I do believe that the Steelers can and will win this one. It will be a close game, but the Steelers come out on top 27-24.
Oh, you son of a, that was exactly my score. Steelers 27, Patriots 24. I'm with the Steelers are kind of due to beat the Patriots. Unless you're the Buffalo Bills, no one team dominates another team every single year without fail. I feel like the Steelers are due for one. They haven't won since 2011, like you said. The Steelers just kind of tend to have it this year. They have the it factor. They're winning close games. They're getting healthy at the right time. The Patriots have to be exhausted through no fault of their own. They've been on the road pretty much nonstop for 2 months. I'm not worried about going back to Pittsburgh in January. I think if the Patriots and the Steelers play each other again, it'll be a very different game, and I'm totally okay with it. As you saw in 2004 when they went to Pittsburgh and dominated them there, I'm not worried about a repeat matchup here, but I don't think the Patriots have the personnel, healthy people to beat them today. I just don't think Brady's as healthy as he could be. His Achilles injury is still hurting. Chris Hogan's out. Everyone's just too banged up. This is a bad matchup all around. Steelers really, really want this. I'm going Steelers. If I can't go 27-24, I'll go 30-27.
Nice one on that one. Price is right. Yeah, this is just a year where it seems it's a year for firsts. The Patriots blew a halftime lead at Gillette in the season opener. It seems like every single week there's something new that, worst defense in the Bill Belichick era for the first 4 weeks, then the best turnaround and first time that they've had 17 or fewer points allowed in 8 straight weeks. It's just a wonky year. This could just be the opportunity for the Pittsburgh Steelers to finally get that monkey off of their back during the regular season. And as you said, if the Steelers come out here and they use a brand new defense, that's just a wrench that I don't know if the Patriots will be able to overcome. But that means that they won't have that wrinkle available to them in the postseason. So it could just be a brand new game, even if it's in Pittsburgh. The Patriots should be healthier. Kyle Van Noy should be back at that point if they make it that far. So as you said, I'm not overly worried about a rematch in the postseason, regardless of where it takes place. It's about this game, about the Patriots needing to win this one in order to get home field advantage. If they lose, they are eliminated from home field advantage because the Steelers would be up 2 games with the tiebreaker. That means that the Patriots are jockeying with the Jaguars for the number 2 seed. And if the Jaguars beat the Houston Texans and the Patriots lose, the Patriots are in the 3rd seed spot for the first time since 2009. They would miss a bye week. And the Jaguars have a very easy slate of games to finish the season. The Patriots have a more difficult road to toe with the Bills and the Jets. So it would not look great for the Patriots to overcome this loss to get a bye week. So this is a very important game. This could be the difference between a bye week and playing in the wild card weekend. So this is an important match to watch. Should be a lot of fun. Kickoff is at 4:25 on CBS. Alec, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off this week?
Let's hope we're both wrong 2 weeks in a row, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. So until next time, Alec, you have a good one.
See ya.